Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Week 8 of our study of the book of Proverbs. So far, we've seen how Proverbs offers a compelling vision of wisdom and rooted in the fear of the Lord, expressed through righteous living, and applied to family, speech, work, and justice. But today we shift gears. We pause to ask a crucial question. What happens when wisdom doesn't work? When the righteous suffer? When the wicked prosper? When the outcomes don't align with expectations? Welcome to the Limits of Wisdom literature, a place of tension, humility, and deeper theological reflection. Much of Proverbs is based on what scholars call the retribution principle, and the idea is that the righteous are rewarded. The wicked are punished. Good choices yield good outcomes. Bad choices lead to ruin. This principle shows up repeatedly. The Lord does not let the righteous go hungry, but he thwarts the craving of the wicked. Proverbs 10 verse 3. Or, a faithful man will abound with blessings, but whoever hastens to be rich will not go unpunished. Proverbs 28 verse 20. And generally speaking, this pattern holds. Proverbs teaches that wise, righteous living tends to produce blessing, stability, and peace. But we all know life is messier than that. The retribution principle is descriptive and not absolute. It's a pattern, not a promise. And Scripture itself acknowledges this by balancing Proverbs with Job and Ecclesiastes. To grasp the full picture of biblical wisdom, we must read Proverbs alongside Job and Ecclesiastes. Job challenges the idea that righteousness guarantees blessing. Here is a man who is blameless, upright, God-fearing, and yet he suffers immense loss. His friends try to apply the retribution principle, arguing he must have sinned. But God rebukes them. Job's story reminds us that wisdom cannot control life. Sometimes the righteous suffer for reasons beyond human understanding. Ecclesiastes, on the other hand, offers a more philosophical critique. The author, traditionally Koheleth or the teacher, repeatedly says, "Vanity of vanities. All is vanity." Ecclesiastes 1 verse 2. He looks at life under the sun and sees the righteous dying young, the wicked growing rich, injustice prevailing. And yet Ecclesiastes, like Job, ends not in despair but in a return to the fear of the Lord. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Ecclesiastes 12 verse 13. So what do we learn from this biblical trio? Proverbs teaches us how life usually works. Job reminds us that exceptions exist and they are not always explainable. Ecclesiastes invites us to live wisely even amid ambiguity and mystery. Proverbs often sounds like a cause and effect manual, do this and you'll succeed. But Job and Ecclesiastes expose our limits. Human knowledge is partial. Human justice is incomplete. Human life is fleeting. And this is where grace enters the picture. Wisdom literature may begin with the fear of the Lord, but it ultimately drives us to something more. Dependence on God. Trust in divine grace. Humility before mystery. Even in Proverbs we catch glimpses of this humility. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. Proverbs 3 verse 5. Wisdom knows its limits. It knows when to speak and when to be silent. It knows that not every question has an answer, and it knows that God is sovereign even when life seems unfair. In our modern world, when life seems unfair or chaotic, people often respond with cynicism or skepticism. But biblical wisdom offers a better path, reverent trust. The fear of the Lord, which is the foundational theme of Proverbs, is not naive optimism, nor is it blind resignation. It's a posture of awe before God's greatness, faith in his justice even when hidden, commitment to live wisely even when outcomes are uncertain. Job feared God even in his suffering. Ecclesiastes called for reverence even in life's absurdities. And Proverbs reminds us that wisdom begins not with answers, but with trust. So in summary, Proverbs teaches that wisdom brings blessing, but it's not a guarantee. Job and Ecclesiastes reveal the limits of that wisdom in a broken world. Biblical wisdom literature is not simplistic, it's nuanced, complex, and deeply human. And in the end, it calls us not to control life, but to fear God, trust Him, and walk humbly. As you read this week's passages from Proverbs, Job, and Ecclesiastes, I encourage you to reflect on the tensions, not just the teachings. Notice how each book offers a piece of the puzzle. Ask, where do I need to trust God beyond what I understand? Next week, we'll see how the wisdom of Proverbs finds its echo in the New Testament and how Christ Himself embodies the very wisdom of God. Thank you, and may we walk wisely and humbly even when the path is unclear.